Welcome back, folks. Slightly different video today. Not outside, not camping. Instead, just having a quick look at spirit stoves, specifically homemade, the good old-fashioned penny stove versus the good old-fashioned Trangier style Meths burner. I've got a couple of, I'm going to make a penny stove, compare it with a cheap off-the-shelf Meths burner in the Trangier style, see how they compare, weight-wise, fuel-wise, pros, cons, how fast they cook, that sort of thing. So let's get straight away started. So this is a Lixada. It's just an off-brand, available through Amazon, Trangier style brass Meths burner. It comes with a control cap which is just taken off, and then the actual lid with a rubber O-ring seal in it, which allows the Meths to be stored inside. It's got these burn holes all the way around the side, which is where the Meths escapes, and a well in the centre where you keep all the Meths. Lighting it is a piece of cake unless it's really windy. Simply take a flame to it. The Meths well in the centre will catch, and then as that Meths well burns down, it will in fact heat the side walls, increase the amount of evaporation through the holes. The flame's obviously very clear blue, but it is very hot, just demonstrating there with a piece of cardboard. Once you're finished and no longer want to burn the fuel, you can simply put the control cap back on, and hey presto, it's gone out. Although it does get hot. I did burn my fingers just a little. This is the stand that the stove came with, just a simple pot stand really, to hold a pot above a Meths burning stove. So, moving on, let's make a penny stove. For those of you who haven't done it before, you're going to need a couple of cans, drinks cans. Make sure you empty the drink out first. It gives you something to drink while you're doing the rest of the job. It doesn't really matter what kind of cans. It could be a beer can, it could be a Coke can, it could be anything you want it to be. Quite simply, all you want to do is make sure you get all of the liquid out, and then you can commence cutting off the bottom. So we need two bottoms of the cans. Okay, so we're going to take a sharp Stanley style craft blade. Doesn't really matter what style of blade you've got, but these work perfectly simply because they're long, flat, and they've got a nice pointed edge like there. I'm going to lay it down on something that's about an inch off the deck, and we're simply going to put the can up against the blade and turn. And this can be a little bit of a laborious process. You do have to go round and round and round and round, but at the end of the day it gives you a really clean cut, and once it starts to go, all you have to do is simply apply a little bit of pressure on the edges and it will start to pop. This one was a little bit stubborn. I probably should have gone around a few more rounds with it, but in the end it comes off cleanly. So you've got a nice uniform cut. It's worth sanding up the edges a little bit, making sure they're nice and rough. What we're going to be doing in a minute is actually gluing it, so we need a nice rough edge for that. Next step, take a pair of needle nose pliers, and we're just going to put a series of crimps all the way around the top edge. Round and round and round. They're only about half a centimetre or so apart, each of them, and you end up with this funky little pattern around the edge. All this is doing is bringing in, it's constricting that edge, which allows us to more easily get it inside of a can of the same size. So for the top of the burner, before we cut the can off, we need the can to be nice and sturdy, because what we're going to do now is start punching some holes. So you need four holes and a centre punch hole in the middle. They need to be close enough together that you can actually use a penny to cover them over, hence the name penny stove. I found that this simple picture hanging nail was perfect for the job. Gentle tap with a hammer, put a nice clean hole in the top. Some people draw, patterns all over theirs to try and make sure they get them in perfect position. I'm simply more of a speed and efficiency over form, more function, I guess. So once you've got your four holes in the middle that can be covered by a penny, now you need to go around the outside and put holes in the outside. So I've just sped this little clip up. Basically, I had a look at the off-the-shelf burner just to see what it looked like, give me a rough idea of how many I wanted. And then I simply just did put holes in roughly at 180, and then at 90 degrees, and then at 45 degrees, and so on, so that each time keeping them relatively evenly spaced out as I go around. Again, a little bit of a laborious process, but it's fairly simple to do. And try to keep the holes roughly the same size, or if you are going to have slightly different sized holes, you want to have slightly larger holes next to slightly smaller holes, which allows a little bit of air to come down through the small holes before being mixed with the meth that's evaporating and pushes back out of the bigger holes. So hey presto, look at that, lovely job. Doesn't look that bad, does it? I actually end up putting a few more holes in it in the end, hence the why it now has lots of extra holes. So that edge is very sharp, and that edge is actually going to be on the outside of the stove. So we just take a little bit of sandpaper, just give it a quick rough down. We just want to take the worst of the burrs off, keep our fingers in one piece. Now, a little bit of loft fiberglass insulation. You can see I'm handling it gently with my fingertips. This is not stuff you really want to be touching on yourself too much. Probably should be using a pair of gloves here, but hey-oh. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to fluff it up a little bit, and we're just going to push it down inside the stove. Predominantly we want to make sure there's plenty around the edges. That's the most important part. And again, make sure you've rubbed it off your fingers before you move on. Don't go rubbing your eyes or something after you've been touching that. Okay, moving everything out of the way, it's time for the epoxy resin. So this is perfect for the job. It's very heat resistant and it adds structural strength as well. So all we're going to do with this is simply put a roughly like a large pea size amount of each, which will obviously result in a 2 pea sized overall lump. We don't really need too much glue. It's more of a thin layer that we're going to be spreading around. So we just mix it up, make sure it's really thoroughly mixed together. Again, it's a very small amount, so it's kind of difficult to try and keep it all together and make sure it's actually mixing, but try your best. And then we're just going to take the bottom piece and we're just going to spread the glue on. Again, it's thin smear is the name of the game today. We're not looking for, thick lugs of it on there. Smear it all the way around, and once you've got the glue all the way around, it's time to, within about, you've got a few minutes here to play with before the epoxy starts to set. It's time to get the lid on. It can be a little bit fiddly, and you do need to be careful. You're bringing a sharp edge from above down onto a sharp edge below, and you have to kind of push the bottom edge in, as you can see I'm doing here. So be very careful how much pressure you push from above until you've got it popped up and aligned like it is now. And once it's in, it's quite safe. So bit of pressure from above, and as you come down, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to push. So you might need to double hand it like I did, just to push it that last bit. We basically want to get it down so the side walls are completely overlapping each other, like that. And that's it. Put it to one side, let it set. So that's the end of this part of the video. We've made our little penny stove, and we can start to play around with it, start putting some meths in, but I'm going to leave that for the next part of the video. I'll do a little comparison video follow-up now and show you how it compares with a traditional stove. So thanks for watching, guys, and watch on to the next part, which will be linked at the end here, if you want to see how it compares to a normal off-the-shelf stove. Thanks for watching.